Role-playing games have been a staple of the gaming industry for over 30 years. Every month, we see some exciting new titles. Recently, we've had big releases like Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, but there's always something new on the horizon. Today, we're showcasing 10 upcoming PlayStation RPGs you're going to love. Let's dive in! The first game on our list is Metaphor ReFantazio. A new production from Atlus is always exciting, and Metaphor ReFantazio is no exception. Announced in the mid-2010s, the game is finally ready, with a release date set for October 2024. Drawing inspiration from Megami Tensei, Metaphor is set to introduce several twists to the classic Atlus formula, including a unique battle system that blends real-time and turn-based combat. According to current information, easy battles will use action combat, while tougher fights will switch to turn-based. It sounds intriguing on paper. Narratively, the game seems packed with content. Set in a fantasy realm thrown into chaos by the king's death, a tournament has been declared to choose the next ruler. The protagonist assists the kingdom's prince and is joined by many other playable characters. The game also features a social link-style system called Archetypes. Next up is The Legend of Heroes: Trails Through Daybreak. Despite not achieving the same level of recognition as Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, the Trails franchise has been consistently delivering quality games for almost 2 decades. While all the main titles are set in the same world, they are divided into smaller region-based story arcs that focus on specific groups of characters. Trails Through Daybreak marks the beginning of a new storyline set in Calvard, a nation that has recently transitioned to democratic rule. Players assume the role of Van, a Spriggan working as a bounty hunter. Trails Through Daybreak was released in Japan a couple of years ago, so it's a known quantity at this point. Judging by the reception of that version, this entry seems to be a bit of a mixed bag compared to some of the franchise's high points. However, it also takes several risks. For instance, the gameplay combines real-time and turn-based combat, a departure from the traditional Trails formula. Next is East 10 Nordics, which came out in September 2023 in Asia. Falcom's latest entry in its long-running JRPGs franchise is available in some parts of the world, but the release date for the English version is set for fall 2024 for PlayStation 4 and 5, although the exact timeframe is still up in the air. While East 9 received a somewhat mixed reception, the series has been on a high since East 8, which helped bring the storied franchise to a more mainstream audience. If reviews of the Japanese version are any indication, East 10 is likely to be divisive among fans. The game abandons the series party system in favor of a dual protagonist setup. More importantly, the combo system that lets the two leads combine forces seems so powerful that it renders individual abilities somewhat pointless. The ship-based exploration and combat might also be polarizing. Still, Falcom excels at creating fun action, and even if East 10 doesn't rank among the franchise's greatest entries, it should still be very enjoyable. Another amazing RPG is coming in August. Black Myth Wukong has been generating buzz for a couple of years. While the early footage was promising, the hype really picked up in August 2023 when some publications got hands-on time with the game, showing it has more to offer than just impressive trailers. Naturally, these previews only scratch the surface of what the final product will deliver, but they did highlight the game's combat system, which combines melee, magic, and stance changes. The melee combat uses a staff, fitting since the game is inspired by the Journey to the West novel, which also influenced Dragon Ball. Visually striking and featuring fast-paced, complex action, Black Myth could be one of 2024's biggest surprises. The game offers a fresh take on the Souls-like blueprint, using the subgenre's tough boss fights and hard-hitting combat as a foundation to create something both familiar and new. Next is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. Atlus loves a good re-release. Whenever the publisher launches a new numbered Shin Megami Tensei game, it's only a matter of time before a definitive version is announced, improving the base content while adding a plethora of new material. While it took a bit longer to materialize than usual, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is set to follow in Persona 5's footsteps with the release of Vengeance, a version that enhances the already robust 2021 Switch exclusive. The main selling point of Vengeance is that it will be available on platforms like the PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC, moving away from Nintendo's exclusivity. However, this version offers more than just wider accessibility. Vengeance includes a new storyline called Can of Vengeance, which is significant since the original game was somewhat lacking in this area. Next is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is the definition of a niche favorite. Despite its rough edges, the RPG features fantastic writing and characters, along with extensive customization that gives players plenty of creative freedom. It is a masterpiece that for the longest time seemed destined to remain a solitary project in the video game industry. However, in 2019, Bloodlines 2 was revealed to the world. Since then, the game has been delayed a few times and information about its production has been inconsistent. That said, a few Vampire the Masquerade spin-offs have released over the last few years, so the IP is still very much alive. Set in Seattle, Bloodlines 2 will let players create a newly transformed vampire, including choices like their human background and preferred discipline. Vampire the Masquerade's success can be partially credited to its deep clan system, which allows players to commit to one of the vampire groups operating in the city. This element should be present in Bloodlines 2. In terms of gameplay, it seems the sequel will stay close to its predecessor, so expect first-person action with a heavy focus on a dialogue system. Next up is Cat Quest 3. Role-playing games are often known for their grand, massive adventures, but they don't always have to be. The Cat Quest games are delightful exceptions. The existing titles deliver short but sweet adventures packed with charming NPCs, solid open worlds, and enjoyable combat. While they might not have jaw-dropping visuals or 100+ hours of content, they are cute, polished, and fun. The upcoming Cat Quest 3 should offer more of the same, but with a pirate twist. On the surface, the sequel doesn't seem to be a major departure from its predecessors. Players will still traverse an overworld in search of quests, dungeons, enemies, and puns. The combo-driven combat is likely to remain simple but flashy, with Gentle Bros promising to expand on this aspect. One of the new features is sailing, which fits perfectly with the pirate theme and the open world's island structure. Next up is Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Good things come to those who wait, a motto that From Software will hopefully bring to life with the long-awaited arrival of Elden Ring's expansion Shadow of the Erdtree. Since the Souls-like game was released in February 2022, almost 2.5 years will have passed by the time the DLC hits the market. The developer has a long history of delivering high-quality expansions that feel like standalone minigames, with many of these releases showcasing some of From Software's finest work. Shadow of the Erdtree could prove to be the company's most ambitious expansion yet, with reports indicating it will offer a wealth of fresh content. The DLC is set in a land of shadow, a new area said to be around the size of Limgrave. Naturally, the zone is packed with secrets, dungeons, and new enemies that will undoubtedly challenge even the most seasoned players. Historically, From Software's expansions tend to feature tougher bosses than the base game, and there's nothing to suggest Elden Ring will be an exception. Despite being just DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree will undoubtedly be one of the biggest releases of June. Next on our list is Monster Hunter Wilds. A new Monster Hunter game is always a cause for celebration, and Wilds looks set to be an impressive work of art. Although details are still fairly scarce, Capcom has confirmed a 2025 release on the PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X. As a result, Wilds will likely have more in common with World rather than Rise, as the latter was designed around the Nintendo Switch's limitations, resulting in smaller maps compared to its predecessor. Now, you could argue that Monster Hunter exists in a unique category outside of traditional RPGs, which is fair. Still, the games always incorporate a variety of role-playing elements and are generally great picks for fans of the genre who prefer action over story. And last but not least is Assassin's Creed Shadows. While not everyone loved the shift, Assassin's Creed has been steadily incorporating more RPG elements since Origins, with Mirage being an exception. Ubisoft's upcoming entry, Assassin's Creed Shadows, looks set to continue this trend according to comments made by its game director in an Xbox interview. Set in feudal Japan, this project will feature two protagonists, a shinobi and a samurai. Except for certain missions, players will be able to swap between these characters on the fly, each with unique skills, weapons, and playstyles. Every Assassin's Creed game is a big deal, but Shadows appears to be attracting more hype than usual. Part of this excitement stems from the setting, as fans have been eagerly awaiting a Japan-based adventure for years. The dual protagonist structure is also compelling, especially since one character seems designed to facilitate stealth-based combat similar to the older entries in the series. As November 2024 approaches, Ubisoft will gradually reveal more of Shadow's unique features, hopefully paving the way for one of the best Assassin's Creed games yet. We hope you discovered your next favorite game. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more PlayStation content. Until next time, happy gaming.